what's happening, guys? Now that The Amazing Spider-Man 2 is out on digital version and soon will be out on Blu-ray and DVD as well, we can finally make all the Easter eggs and references video. Of course, with The Amazing Spider-Man 2, it's quite an interesting story because lots of Easter eggs were already revealed in all the trailers and TV spots. Still, there were a few things, some small interesting things, fun things, which you could spot only after viewing the film for a couple of times, of course. And we're starting with something which is rather obvious and was revealed pretty soon early, but still, this is the compilation of all the Easter eggs and references. So we're starting with, of course, RHINO's boxer shorts, RHINO-verse boxer shorts with RHINO emblems on it. Another obvious one, which is Gwen wears the same outfit as she did in the comic the night Gwen Stacy died, the comic where she actually died. Of course, another Easter egg is Max Dillon's birthday cake, which is colored green and yellow, and there's a lightning bolt on it, which is of course a reference to Electro's original costume, something we definitely wouldn't ever see in a film, of course only in a comic book. Still a nice reference. And of course there's another Electro's costume reference, which is close to the end of the film. Spidey fights Electro and he breaks up the pipes. There's this pipe chamber, the only one, which is colored green and yellow, just like Electro's classic costume. Of course, the email. Peter chats with J. Jonah Jameson, and there's this small interesting reference to Aunt May's eggs, which she asked Peter to buy in the first film. There's an email about eggs. Of course, there's JJ reference as well. During the laundry sheriff, Peter mentions that JJ paid him a fair wage if they were living in 1961. Of course, this is quite a tricky Easter egg. The Amazing Fantasy 15, the first appearance of Spider-Man in a comic book, happened in 1962, but 1961 was actually a year for another book, which is called Journey into Mystery, and it sort of predicted the Spider-Man. Of course, the story focused around the monstrous creature Spider, and it was sort of a proto-Spider-Man book, which is still a very nice reference. Now, of course, there's a scene where Norman Osborn and Richard Parker talk about their researches, and particularly by the end of the video, which Peter and Harvey are watching, Norman says, "Even cancer."
And what this could do for other diseases like Alzheimer's, even cancer.
That the spider's venom can cure actually cancer. Of course, that's the origin of the ultimate symbiote. Richard Parker developed a symbiote suit originally to cure cancer, and seeing how Donald Mencken mentioned that they kept the spider's venom for future, perhaps the symbiote will actually originate from the spider's venom, as Matt Tolmach already mentioned that the symbiote probably won't come from space this time like in Spider-Man 3, it will be most likely the ultimate origin. So him mentioning the cancer is definitely a nice Easter egg there. When Peter is watching the TV broadcast of how Spider-Man defeated Electro during the Times Square, these two guys are the same nerd guys which appeared in The Amazing Spider-Man 1 and discussed how Spidey managed to swing that fast. Yep, that's the same guys. Of course, when Peter is searching for the abandoned train station, who is Roosevelt, he comes across this picture, which is a Roosevelt's Cable Car. That's the Easter egg to Spider-Man 2002, the first Sam Raimi Spider-Man movie. Of course, that's the Roosevelt Cable Car with a bunch of kids where Spidey saved them when he fought Green Goblin. Of course, there's the Daily Bugle bus, which we spotted quite early during the set pictures. Same goes for all the other Daily Bugle newspaper Easter eggs in the film. By the end of the film, RHINO escapes the prison The Vault. It's not the Ravencroft prison, which is of course another Easter egg as well. The Vault is a maximum security facility designed to hold a superhuman criminals. It's a Marvel's prison, and of course it's maintained by S.H.I.E.L.D. Quite interesting. Now, what's more interesting is that one of the former prisoners of the Vault is actually Cletus Cassidy, aka the Carnage. Now, when Harvey Osborn mentions to Peter that Spider-Man's blood can save him, he mentions that Spider-Man was bitten by this spider and he can do everything a spider can, which is of course a theme song reverse, does whatever a spider can. Spider-Man is spying on Gwen Stacy and she comes closer to her friends there who are sitting around the table, and there's a dog, which is actually called Ren, and it's Emma Stone's real dog pet, which was adopted by both Andrew and Emma. Of course, Gwen Stacy dies and the clock shows 1:21. an issue where Gwen Stacy died, the night Gwen Stacy died. Nice reference there as well. During the conference scene where Harvey Osborn just became the CEO of Oscorp, he talks about how everybody will work for him, and on the background you can spot this skull of a Sabretooth tiger. Now this Sabretooth tiger could be quite an Easter egg to the Sabretooth tiger called Zabu, which was owned by Khazar. Now of course both Spider-Man and Kraven the Hunter fought Khazar, and of course in one of the Khazar storyline it is explained how Kraven actually became the Hunter, which is quite possibly an Easter egg to Kraven the Hunter. And of course that's not the only Kraven Easter egg, we'll come to it later on of course as well. Now this very scene where Peter is grabbing a passing car is actually a homage to Buster Keaton. In one of his early films Buster did a very same trick, and Spidey did the same in the Amazing Spider-Man 2. Buster Keaton homage right there. Of course the Itsy Bitsy Spider song during the fight with Electro, you can hear it very well, it's playing on the pillars. Spidey's ringtone, we do know about it of course. Spidey is humming the ringtone, his own theme song. Now of course during Spidey vs Electro fight you can spot this emblem which does look like Spidey logo. You can see it very briefly there, but it's pretty much this Spidey's mask out there. And of course there's also Peter's bedroom. In his bedroom you can spot Ramones Poster. Of course Ramones did the famous Spider-Man theme cover. There's also an interesting album cover for Deep Ocean, and of course it shows us a bird which tries to grab this person. You could say that it might be the Ultra Easter egg, or of course it's just the album cover and it doesn't mean anything. On this very scene we've seen first in the trailer of course reveals quite a few Easter eggs, such as for example Venom's storage. Originally we thought that it might be actually a symbiote Easter egg, but it's probably the spider's venom which was extracted from the spiders Richard Parker developed. There's Dr. Connor's file, of course Dr. Morbius, the living vampire file, of course the Ravencroft prison, Venom storage, another one. In fact there are 3 Venom storages, which brings me back to the theory that the symbiote might actually originate from the spider's venom. Getting back to the Kraven, of course there's the Project Australia. Kraven the Hunter from the Ultimate Universe of course is an Australian, so this is quite a possibly and probably is another Easter egg to Kraven the Hunter. And of course there's Project Act, which is probably an Easter egg to Dr. Octopus. Of course there are a bunch of other interesting things which are not necessarily Easter eggs or not necessarily what we think they are, but for example synthetic plants could be a reference to the symbiote. And of course there's also the centrifuge facility, which is probably the same facility where Spidey lost his old costume. As we know by now, Spidey's costume got teared up once he falls in the centrifuge in one of the Amazing Spider-Man movie comic book, a comic book which took place during the Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2. That's how Spidey lost his costume, and of course he creates the new one as Gwen Stacy suggested him earlier on. Regardless, these are the Easter eggs and of course the references I spotted in the Amazing Spider-Man 2. If you know more, if you found something else there, mention them in the comment section down below and we'll discuss them together. I just honestly hope that the Amazing Spider-Man 3 or the Sinister 6 or the female Spider-Man spin-off film trailers won't reveal all the Easter eggs in the damn trailers. I want to find Easter eggs in the actual film, not discuss them when watching just a trailer. Anyway, thanks for watching and I'm off for now.